Hello, fellow followers. Welcome back to FanZcene. I am Greg here, and today with me is President of Ghoulies Inc., Theo Lemasters. How you doing, Theo?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Glad to have you here. I'm excited to talk to you about Ghoulies, because it looks like they're coming back to get you in the end again.
Again.
Yeah. So I actually covered this in a video a while back when it was first announced, and I was glad you commented and everything. But yeah, it was. I read an article and it said that the rights to Ghoulies has reverted back to the original creators.
Yes.
And you're a part of the new screenwriting team.
Mm-hmm.
So how did these all come back to you and Ghoulies being brought back?
Okay, so the way it worked was Jeffrey Levy and Luca Bercovici had done a copyright termination. So they were able to get the rights back. And they posted about it in a Facebook group, the Ghoulies Facebook, Ghoulies Unflushed Facebook group. So they posted that they were getting the rights back and that they were going full force with some stuff. And I'm a screenwriter. I've been doing this for 15 odd years and lots of development hell type stuff, but I've worked on some cool things. In the past, I worked on fun projects and big weird things that just never came to be. And I hit them up and I'm like, look, the reason I got into screenwriting, my first script was an homage to Ghoulies. Like, that's my thing. Yeah. Like, I could at least write something on spec and throw it in at you and just see what you think. So they were like, absolutely. So in like a week, I wrote a script and I sent it in, and he was like, this is fantastic. Let's work with you. So let's figure this out. And it was literally that. And then it was actually funny because the way copyright termination, it's all based on dates and specifics and whatever. Yeah. And I guess the date was actually screwed up. And he thought, and then I thought that it was going to land on that year, that January. It was actually the following January. So I got it. And then we had to wait a year to do anything. So in that year, while I was doing everything else, I was like, I was like, that first script was just whatever, and we were going to try to rewrite it, and it was a fast write. So I was like, let's try to do something that's a little more polished. And then I had another idea, and I'm like, what if we take this one and just stick it to the side and do this? And they were like, that's a great idea. So I went and wrote that one, and then I saw how I could take the first one I wrote and rewrite it to be a sequel to what I just written. So I went back and rewrote that one to match the other one. And then I rewrote both of them just to clean them up and polish them. Yeah. And I was like, now I know where to go with a third one. So I wrote a third one. I had all the time in the world. So I was like, let me just write a bunch of Ghoulies. And
just write them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. They'll be there if it ever works out. So I wrote the trilogy, and then I started writing book versions of each of the scripts and of the original script. And that led into not big giant novel-y books, like little 150, 200 page pocket books, just something fun you can read. And I started doing that. And we've got the books now coming out, and that through Encyclopocalypse. If you follow them, there's the new cover was released on Christmas that was done by John Tedrick. And everything's awesome. It's just a lot of fun, and that's how I got Ghoulies. Was it kind of went. I'll add in the whole president thing is silly fun, because when we started out, it was just like, hey, you can write the scripts, and we're gonna figure out what to do with them, and it's gonna be fun. And then it bumped up to like, hey, you're really doing so good that we're gonna throw you a producer credit. We're gonna kind of bring you in. We realized you were gonna apply yourself so much to this, and then soon after it became you seem to have interest in doing kind of everything. Would you just like us to be here for you when you need us, and you can just kind of run with this? You're kind of the president of Ghoulies. And I'm like, please make that official. Please call me the president of Ghoulies. That would be so awesome. And they were like, no, really, we actually are. So they worked up a contract for me, and it's like, I'm the president of Ghoulies. It's
right. Yeah.
It's a silly thing. It's an 18-year full circle from when I sat down and went, I need to write a script. I need to figure out how to do this. I'm going to pull from some different movies I like and kind of mash it all together into a story. And Ghoulies was literally like my hand-drawn crappy poster cover that I did as a concept art at the time was little monsters, demon fetusy things coming out of toilets. Ghoulies was the start of where I tried to do, and the turnaround all these years later and go, I'm making Ghoulies. I'm the president of Ghoulies. It's such a silly, like, accomplished feeling. I wish it came with millions of dollars. It has yet to do that, but at the moment, I'm just happy to be the Ghoulies guy.
I mean, you got in on it. You get to be, the writer of movies and everything, and the novels. This
was so my goal. Okay, so I'm gonna tell a little story real fast. If I can just tell a little story, because this is how it all gets started. So, growing up, I'm terrible about eye contact. I hope I'm not.
No, you're all good. You're good. Yeah. You're good.
So growing up, I loved all the movies we all love, Ghoulies and The Blob and everything 80s. I'm 47, so I was prime 80s childhood, like, horror VHS kid, and I loved my dream was to be a special effects artist and do all this stuff. And there was a local horror host show here in town, Dr. Gruesome's Movie Morgue, that was on every weekend. And in fact, all of this is because of that. I want to have my own horror host show on YouTube or something, just for silly fun and to carry on the love of
me too.
Yeah, like I'm totally, I've got all these episodes written and stuff. I just don't have people. I need people, and I'm bad at social everything. But so it's like the writer's curse. I sit alone in a dark corner writing out ideas, and it's like, I need people to do something with this. And anyway, so I grew up on all this stuff, and I loved just all the stuff. And then you get older, you get into your teenage years, and you wander off, and girls and all the life. So years go by, and I hadn't really chased any dreams, and I was kind of just plateauing in existence. And my brother, unfortunately, killed himself. Oh. And he was 21. I was right as a few days after my 24th birthday, and it hits hard because it's a terrible thing. And it's everything it was. So in the following months, my stepdad had actually. This is forever. So my stepdad had actually died 10 months before, and then my brother died, and it was down to me and my mom. And my mom and my stepdad had been separated for a few years, and she had moved on to the guy she's been married to now for 20 some odd years, and she had moved off to live with him, and I was left in my childhood home by myself. It was all empty, and I didn't have anything. I was trying to keep it afloat and do life, and depressed and dealing with everything as it was, and just trying to figure out, like, what is my existence now in this whole grief-stricken moment of life. And one night I was in my bedroom. All I had was my bedroom. The whole house was just an empty house. So I was kind of going a little stir crazy, and I'm like, what's in the attic? There's stuff, something's in the attic. I'm bored. It's 2 a.m. I'm going in the attic, poking around. So I go in the attic, and I'm poking around, and I found a bunch of my horror movies from when I was a teenager. And I was sitting and watching Reanimator, and I don't know if it was that night. My memory's blurry on it because I'm older now, but it
happens.
It was either that night or the next night. But it was definitely like in that first day or three or something. I'm watching Reanimator, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and I'm up drawing or doing whatever I'm doing, just being a person and I'm nocturnal by nature. And I was watching Reanimator, and it was the head scene, and and I'm watching it as I'm doing whatever I'm doing. It's just kind of on the background. I was just letting movies play on a loop for days, like it was just kind of a thing. And that scene was taking place, and I kind of stopped and looked at it, and I laughed, and it was just kind of a ha-ha, like, that's stupid. I'd seen it 1,000 times. I hadn't seen it in a while, and it caught me off guard, and I laughed. And when I laughed, I was like, I just laughed, I think, for the first time in like 3 months. Like, since my brother died, I didn't realize it, but all of a sudden I had laughed. And when it hit me, it was like ice water. It was like, what the fuck just happened to me? I just had something like, it was like I felt it in a weird way. Like I forgot I hadn't laughed, and it was such a weird moment. Like, and like I can remember it so well from like just that. It was such a weird like moment. It hit me like, holy crap! I just laughed, and I didn't know what. So
yeah,
whether it was
it's the power of a movie, man.
yeah,
Powers of movies.
so that was kind of what I was thinking. And at the same time that I'd been watching all these movies on a loop, just, you know, Police Academy and all these things, which, just all these movies. And I'm watching them, and it's kind of the first time I'm watching them with like an adult brain. And I'm watching them and going like, I see stuff now that I would have never noticed.
Right.
Because when I was a kid, it seemed just fantasy and fun. Watching it now, I'm like, oh, I see how they did that, and that's all easy. And I know how special effects work, and I could have done, oh, I see the thing. I'm watching the tricks, and I'm just kind of picking up on it. And then I got this laugh moment, and somewhere in the mix of all of that, I randomly was like, I need a reason. Like, I needed something. I was aimless, and I was like, I think I just want to make like shitty horror movies to make people laugh, because maybe if some kid sees it when he's 10 and he's 25 years down the road and he's having a moment and he laughs, it's a pay it forward. And I was just like, yeah, there's a purpose. So I declared it my purpose. Like, my purpose in life is to pay forward that stupid laugh I got when I saw the head scene in Reanimator. And like, outside of that, like, I'm a big fan of Kurt Vonnegut, and he says you know, the point of existence is just to fart around. And like, I've never been a serious minded guy in any real regard. And somewhere in the mix of all that, I just went, nah, I love Lloyd Kaufman like a child god. Yeah. And I was like, I want to be my own Lloyd Kaufman. Like, that's who I love and want to be. And like, I literally named my daughter Charlotte after his daughter, because I was like, I need a girl name. Charlotte, good enough for him, good enough for me. That's it. It was silly. Yeah. I was young, but yeah, I love Lloyd Kaufman with all my wee boy heart, and just that's who I set out. Like, whenever I find myself wondering what do I do next, I literally think, what would Lloyd do? I love the man.
It's an interesting thing, because it's so funny. Is like, those movies mean so much to so many of us and everything. And you talk about Lloyd Kaufman, and then you think about Charles Band did Ghoulies. And Charles Band and Lloyd Kaufman are the last two fully independent movie creators. They're the last two.
Charles Band and Lloyd Kaufman have done something that nobody else has been able to do. And it's truly, Charles Band, I actually owe more credit, probably, because I would watch the making of featurettes and stuff at the end. Oh yeah, the videos and everything, and like a lot of that stuff really influenced me when I was really young. But he was never so much the face, and you get the Uncle Lloyd personality of Lloyd, just, hey boys and girls, and he's up. It's like, so it's like they really are. I just got Charles Band's book here the other day. Yeah. I ordered all the Puppet Master figures and was like just having a whole moment of fun. And I owe them both a tremendous amount of who I am as a human being. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's. I always find it's interesting when I talk to people like this, because so many of us have went through like the same experience and we don't even realize it with movies and stuff. Like, I absolutely love Lloyd Kaufman too, but I was always more of like a Full Moon person. Yeah. But it seems like every time I talk to people, it's always Lloyd or Charles. And we have so much in common, and we just never realized it growing up. And so now we're talking Ghoulies coming back.
It's so true. It's really a silly, funny thing to be. I don't like. You get the idea in your head sometimes, like over the years of working in the business adjacent. I live in Virginia, so a lot of my stuff's like over the phone or emails, but I've worked for a lot of producers and got to go out to LA and mess around every once in a while. And you forget that everybody's just like regular people, and that everybody's kind of like the same. goofy fan of the stuff that we all like you said, we all grew up on. And like when you start meeting people and you start meeting people, they're like, oh, this guy's like some big producer, he's a big fancy guy, and then you talk to him and it's like, no, I'm just a dork like you. And like I find myself with like a weird imposter syndrome because I'm a dork in Virginia in my dining room that I turned into a horror host set because I thought it would be fun to make a horror host show with my buddy.
Good.
Yeah, thanks. It was some styrofoam board and a couple of, it's nonsense, but it's still, I write in my bathroom. I don't feel like a big. I really have a little bit of imposter syndrome. When we ran out of space when I kept having kids, so I was like, well, I don't have an office anymore, and my kids are all grown. They're 18 to 22, and they were taking up all the room. I'm like, I'll use my master bathroom. So I set my laptop across from the sink and I slid a chair in there and I cleared everything out and I set it up like an office, and it ceased to be a bathroom probably a decade ago and it just became my office. So I get out of bed and walk 8 feet in and sit down in my thing. And that's like, I'm not a fancy guy. I'm not Hollywoody.
Can I just, have you thought about this for real? Right? You're writing in your bathroom, right?
Yeah,
and the ghoulies come up in the toilet.
I literally have rested my feet on the toilet and thought about it exactly like you just said. Just stood there and stared at the toilet and went, what am I doing with my life? It's meant to be. It's destiny, right?
It's got to be something, right? It's happenstance, whatever you want to call it. It's leading you that way. So I mean that's a great story. I love hearing that. I mean, at least you found your way and your purpose, and it's like the power of a good movie, man. A good shitty movie.
It's really so. Like my first, so to continue my silliness, just to even over explain. So when I started out to write a movie, I'm like, I haven't written anything since the 8th grade. I have no education. I don't know anything. And in my brain, a writer is somebody who's studious and educated, and I'm an idiot. So I wasn't real confident. I bought some books. I got a bunch of books and I was reading things and I was trying to figure it all out. And I was reading one of the stories in Lloyd's book. I guess I can't remember the exact details of it. It's been a long time, but they did something like they took his book and had like a therapist or somebody read it and then give an assessment of who Lloyd was or something. I can't remember what exactly it was. It was something like that. And if I remember right, they said he's basically trying to gross out his mom. Like he's basically, chasing his mom with a booger on his finger or something to that effect. Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that was what I got from it anyway. So when I sit down to write a script, I just made a list of things that would upset my mother. Just like anything she didn't like in my childhood that was, Freddy and the things and the stuff. I wrote those things down. And then I just crushed them all together into a story that was Demonic Aborted Sewer Fecal Fetuses Revenge. It was about demon-possessed aborted fetuses. And it was not well written because I didn't know what I was doing, but it was a really fun story. So I knew that I didn't know what to do with it. I had zero connections and, I was trying to raise children and do life. And I sent it to a few people. And one of the people I sent it to was the son of the creator of Police Academy. Was also somebody who worked on Head of the Family. And I love Head of the Family. And I happen to know that. I can't even remember exactly how I knew that, but somehow or another, I reached out to him at some point, and he read the script. And he calls me at like 2:00 in the morning one night, and he's like, I just finished reading your script, and it's the funniest fucking thing I've ever read. Nobody would have ever written this. You're insane. And he's like, it'll never get made. Nobody's ever making this. Nobody will ever put their name on it. You have written some terrible things in here that are so funny. This is brilliant. It's never getting made, but I love you to death, and we need to figure out what we can do with you. So he talked to his dad, and they were remaking a movie called Circle of Iron, which was Bruce Lee wrote a story called The Silent Flute. and it was going to be made with him, and then it ended up getting made with James Coburn, and it was or was it James Coburn? David Carradine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was called Circle of Iron.
Oh yeah.
And then so they were going to remake that, and they had a script, but it was like wacky, and they needed it rewritten. So they hired me, and I rewrote this, and I'm like, this thing's going to Warner Brothers. It's crazy that this could even happen. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. I wrote a goofy aborted fetus demony thing. It's nonsense, and they just were really great. Sasha became one of my favorite people on the planet. Like, he was just the best, and he got me that. They were going to remake Police Academy, and I got in. I wrote a couple of drafts of that before it got passed around to a bunch of people, and I kind of got in and out of it a few times. And last I heard it was, I think Key and Peele were going to make it, and then I think it all ended up getting screwed up with police riots and everything happening back when 2013 or whatever it was, and that just kind of killed the whole Police Academy project for whatever was supposed to happen. But I got to work on that. I wrote a remake of Critters that they were trying to push through the studio, and that was all silly and fun, and all of these things were like learning experiences for me because all I'd written was this one goofy script, and I'm like, well, I have to take this really seriously now and sit down and do this right. And then they gave me lots of feedback to guide me through the process. And over the course of like 3 years, I wrote like 5 or 6 scripts for them probably. And by then I had another 3 or 4 I'd written on the side while I was just trying to figure out how to do it. I got hired by this one lady to write a script for her, to rewrite it for her. And over the course of like 3 years, I figured out screenwriting enough to be able to go like, I guess I'm a screenwriter now. I'm getting occasional money for it, and I'm doing it as this little thing. And then I got tied in with George Page, one of like literally the loveliest person to have ever come into my life. He had licensed the Arkham House publishing rights to just, which everything is public domain. It's all old stuff and everything. But for the brand name alone and just to have it, he had licensed it to be the official entertainment, aspect of like kind of official Lovecraft was the plan. So he hired me on and was like, I need a horror dork like you who will jump into this stuff and figure it all out for me because it's a deep mythos and there's tons of stuff. So I was working with him, and there was a guy who used to work for, he had gone back as an editor into the 70s, and I would talk to him late at night on the phone and be trying to figure out all sorts of stuff. And I kind of became a partner with him on the whole world of Arkham House and Lovecraft and all of that. And like, we're still trying to make stuff happen. We've had a few moments like, oh, this is going to happen, and then COVID, or oh, this is going to happen, and then something. It's like we have moments of things, and one of my favorite scripts ever that I've ever written of any sort, I wrote a kids' film version of an old ghost story from one of the magazines, and I just love it. And it's like, that's my best goofy thing. And anyway, that's my story. That's how I became a screenwriter, and then over the years, you look for spots and you jump in, you help people with stuff, you write a bunch of random things. Every once in a while, somebody gives you a little money, and you sit in your bathroom all day long writing stories and piling up stuff that mostly people don't read. And then you see a post on Facebook and go, Ghoulies, that's for me. I need that. And you accidentally get it. And then they promote you to president of Ghoulies. And you're like, wow, that's something. Now I'm trying to make Ghoulies.
Nice. So it's like with the movies, what can you tell us about what's going on with how they're being made, when they're going to be made, or what's going on? Because I know world of screenwriting in Hollywood, it's ups and downs, and it never comes through,
It's always about the money, and that's where we're pretty much at. I've got one producer who can get the money and is trying to figure out how much money it would take, and I've got one producer who can get the money but doesn't. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to say things. I've got a couple of producers who are trying to figure things out, and they seem to be in a good place, and there's possibility even of them teaming up in some aspects. I'm not totally sure. We're trying to figure it all out because I don't know who goes where or who does what. And like, that's the other thing too. All these years of me doing this with stuff, I've always tried to partner with people who handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm the guy who writes in his bathroom and goes, there, it's done. Do it. Go do the selling and figure it out and schmoozing. I'm not a schmoozy guy at all. I'm terrible at all aspects of schmoozing people and being cool. I'm an idiot, but I'm, I'm just, it's all easy. I don't know how to not talk like this. This is how I talk. This is how I think. I babble and I wander and I ramble. And sometimes
no offense here, but the way you talk, I can tell you're a writer.
Oh yeah, okay.
I've talked to writers. You're a writer, dude, and I have no problem with the way you talk whatsoever. So I can tell.
I always feel like when I email somebody, they want a nice short brief, like, "Dear Sarah, Madam, here's what I'd like. Bingo, bingo, bomb, done, professional." And I'm the most like, "Hi, blah blah." Like, I'll tell you what I did yesterday and why I'm writing you. And like, I don't feel like I'm received professionally or something. I don't know. But it's all fun and good. And I also think of it as a filter. It's like the people that do respond to me are the people I want to work with. The people who go, you seem like a lot. I'm like, well, we probably wouldn't work out anyway, so I'll just keep looking for the people that like me, and it should be fine. And so far, I've managed to build up a small bubble of people who like me and like what I do, so it keeps me employed enough to be able to keep going. Like, I'm a writer, but it doesn't get in. It's not enough to get anything made or be fancy and cool. And that's the story of me and writing. It's also funny too because my intention was never to go professional. I always intended to be Lloyd Kaufman. I always intended to just go make $50,000 backyard movies and flip them into just enough money to go do it again. I had no ambitions to work on bigger things. I accidentally, because of Head of the Family, stumbled into a guy who got me in the door, and it led to a domino effect of all these things happening. So it's like I almost got distracted by all that stuff, and it took me down a course that accidentally circled around to where I was supposed to try to go in the first place.
I still find it funny how you're such a huge fan of Lloyd, but it's like everything's leading you to Charles Band.
Right.
Family and the Ghoulies.
I mean, like, literally, I'm not joking at all. Not joking. Like, I don't have a big social circle in life. I don't have, like, I have some friends and I have some people, but, like, I keep a pretty small bubble. But one of my best friends on the planet is Jacqueline Lavelle from Head of the Family.
Nice. She's awesome.
We met years ago. I was trying to make a movie in Alabama. I don't even know what year that was, but it's been a while. Not 10 years, maybe 8 years, something like that. And she was, I loved Head of the Family. I think she's hilarious. And I'm just like, Jacqueline Lavelle should be in my movie. So I wrote her randomly, and she wrote me back. And she had another thing. I think she was working on a sitcom, doing like some sort of stand-in work or something, and was like, hey, I keep this job because it pays me good to do like routine work and stuff, so I can't come do it, but I love that you're doing it, and if I could get off. She read the script and was like, it's really funny, and like we just kept kind of talking, and over the years we've become the best of friends. Like she's a lucky person. Man. So lucky. It's funny that you say Charles Band, because it's like it is really a full moon world in my life. I could talk for hours about trauma, but I could talk for hours about full moon. I've got behind this wall, I have what I believe to be one of 2 remaining Hideous posters. It's another movie that I loved.
I love Hideous.
It's so good. Hideous. And I found the poster randomly. It was somebody had it on Amazon for like $75, and I had like $60 in Amazon points, and I'm like, I'm buying this. So I have it. And then I just saw in the auction that Full Moon is doing, they have one of the posters, and they're actually posted on Twitter. They had one of the posters in there. As far as I know, those are the only 2 surviving examples of that poster.
Yeah.
And like, I love Full Moon. Just everything about all of the stuff. All the Puppet Master movies when I was a kid were just I raised my kids terribly. Well, I mean, it worked out fine. It was wonderful. But when they were really little, I bought them the Puppet Master box set. And I mean, they were 5 and 7 maybe or something. I'm like, these are movies are great. You're gonna love them. And,
it's okay. They become like kids' movies by the 6th or 7th movie.
So here was how I handled parenting of children. I would let them see things like, hey, look, here's some behind the scenes pictures of how they made this movie. And then they would have some reference to this isn't real. And it was like, now you get to watch Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And they were very little. I have a picture. I've posted it a handful of times because anytime it pops up in my memories, it makes me happy. My youngest son was in kindergarten or first grade. I think he was in first grade. And he came home from school with a little drawing of Freddy Krueger. And it was misspelled how he spelled Freddy Krueger. So he was very young. And he said, the teacher asked us who we wanted to be for Halloween and to draw a picture of it. And nobody knew who mine was. They all want to be My Little Pony. And I was like, he's the only kid at 6 years old who's totally seen the first 4 or 5 Nightmare on Elm Streets several times because I'm a terrible parent. But he turned out great. They all were.
They're fine.
Yeah, they don't even like horror movies now. They're kind of
hey, that's how we grew up, right? We watched them at that age of just watching, staying up late.
The only time I ever felt like I made possibly not an error because I was trying my best to not make it happen. My kids were really little. My 2 sons, they kind of leaned into the horror once I started pushing it at them. They were like, this is fun. And they would watch stuff. And they knew how to work the Netflix and do all this stuff. So I had to kind of guide them on like, hey, not that movie because of this reason or whatever. Like I didn't always tell them why, but there were just some movies that was like, let's not poison your brain entirely with like, awfulness. I tried to keep it fun and light. Let them watch The Blob a million times, but not, certain movies. So there was one movie that they wanted to watch. Why can't I? Event Horizon. Event Horizon. They kept seeing the thing and were like, can we watch that? And I'm like, no, you cannot. Most of the movie you could watch, but there's a moment where it's going to be a little too intense for your little boy brains. And no, you cannot watch Event Horizon. We'll save that for later. You need something to save for later. Let's put that back. So that was the approach I took. And I woke up, it was the middle of summer. They were home from school and I'm nocturnal. I was, I let them stay up as late as they'd want to sometimes, and oftentimes, especially in the summer. And I come downstairs one morning and my one son's asleep. My older son's asleep, and my younger one, who's like 6 or 7. I don't think he was older. He was still young enough to where he was watching Caillou. So he was really young, and he's like, hey, Dad, I watched Event Horizon. And I'm like, what? And he's like, Henry said we could. And I'm like, Henry lied to you. Like, you weren't at all supposed to watch that. And he's like, well, he said we could, but then he fell asleep as soon as it came on, but I watched the whole thing. And I'm like, watched it all by yourself in the middle of the night.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, are you all right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, really? And he's like, it wasn't that scary. And I'm like, what about the end part, though, where there's that moment? And he's like, it was fine. And he like blew it off as nothing. And then he's like, when he wakes up, will you make sure he understands I watched the entire movie by myself? Like he wanted the credit for it. He wanted to be able to go, I survived Event Horizon. And I was like, well, go. And literally he was like, I'm going to go watch Caillou now. And it was like, you got a lot of range, kid. Like you can, you got a lot of range in you. So
he survived the night.
Yeah. So and like I said, all my children, they're 18 to 22. They're all normal, barely care. My youngest, the one Event Horizon, he went and saw Terrifier 3 here in the theater. He enjoyed it, but it was also like my friends want to go, so I'm going. He wasn't eager. He was just going for fun. The other two are like, oh, with your horror movies, stop it.
We're done with it. We're done with
They're like
it.
playing video games or talking about adult things, and they're not even like, I'm the childlike dork in the film.
My kids are the adult and I'm the child.
My son's going to school for computer engineering. The other one's a teacher, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm just a goofy guy writing toilet demon stories in the bathroom, and yeah, it's a. I really don't know what to make of life. It's silly. I'm trying.
Hey, but I mean, hopefully you'll get these movies made soon.
Yeah.
I mean,
We've
I don't
got
know.
the books coming out with Encyclopocalypse. Yeah. I just set up a deal with American Mythology Comics, and is it the ink's not signed, the paper's coming, it's all good, it's happening, but I don't know if I'm supposed to even announce it. That might have been something, but whatever. We're doing comic books. That's gonna be fun, and I've got a couple of action figure options I'm trying to figure out how to make happen, but it depends on which direction I go and what direction they want. I don't know. I got to figure out that. I'm trying to figure out licensing. I've never done anything professional in my life, so when I'm like, now I'm a licenser for and I'm trying to make.
Well, you're the president of Ghoulies, so you got a lot.
It makes. There's a 12-year-old me in 1989 that is just screaming and exploding with joy to be able to be called the president of Ghoulies.
Nice.
I'm trying to make a video game happen. That's something
that'd be interesting. I mean, I'm not a gamer myself, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love it.
I know nothing. I love Nintendo. I had a Super Nintendo. My kids had a Wii, and I played Mario Kart, and I liked it, but I don't remember much about it. And then after that, I don't know anything. And I'm too old for video games. And but I like the idea of them. And there's two possible avenues that could be done with it, and I don't know enough about them all to really speak on them with any expanded knowledge, but it seems like it could be fun if it happens. And then at the same time, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I'm trying to make it happen, and there's the possibility of happen. There's people that want to make it happen, but I don't know what they have to do. Sounds like it takes a lot of money to make a video game. So you start getting into that, and it's like, oh my god, you people spend that making video games? I didn't know. So I thought movies were expensive. Video games are crazy.
Yeah. That's a crazy business. I don't know much about that at all. So
I just started learning some of it, and it is it's a bigger world than I mean, I knew it was a big world, but it's more than I would have ever guessed, and how that stuff works.
Yeah. So it's like, as far as the movies that you guys want to make, classic, please tell me no CGI.
No CGI.
I want to see the classic puppets, and it's going to stay true to the
here's
mythos or whatever.
Here's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get 100%. I'm sure there will be some aspects of a rod removal, CGI,
something like that,
whatever. Yeah. But we're making rubber puppet fucking Ghoulies. There's no So that's rubber puppet all the way. So the story is kind of, there's an element of a prequel to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an element of a remake to the second one, kinda, but they're not exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
Just kinda. And then the third one is, which I'll tell you, because God only knows how long it would take in real life to make 3 Ghoulies movies and get the money figured out and all this stuff. This is a long road of, I hope to God one day these movies all get made. If we make the first one, hopefully a domino, effects into more. But at the same time, I'm not trying to sit and hold Ghoulies stories back forever. So I just novelized all 3 scripts, and that's what's going to be coming out so that everybody can get the full story. And that's for, I guess, the fans who go, I want all the Ghoulies I can get. They're going to come see the movies later. The people are going to go see the movies later and would never pick up the books and read them, get the movie later. But I want to try to get everything to everybody just because I can. It's fun.
Right.
So it's an all new story, but there are elements of prequel and remake to the first two. There's an element of the third one that reflects the original part two, kind of, but it's all done in a loose enough way to where it's like, hey, this is a new story, and you'll find if you'd never seen Ghoulies, you don't need to watch what I've written. If you've seen Ghoulies, you'll get new stuff from everything you're getting, but you'll recognize where some of the stuff came from
Right.
that's in it in a way that should be fun and not be like I don't know, whatever. I think it's really fun. I think I hate to toot my own horn. I think I did a good job.
Well, I mean, I really like the Ghoulies movies, especially the first two. I kind of think the second one's better than the first one, though.
How can you not love the second one with just the whole Satan's Den and the whole everything and that was the other thing too, was I didn't want to do separate, like none of the movies connect.
They're all
look at them.
weird.
And I was like, I want to have elements of all the old movies in the new movies, but I want a coherent narrative trilogy, beginning, end, middle story. I want it to matter. And that was the other thing too. Like when you're dealing with something like Ghoulies, everybody's take on Ghoulies is either, oh my God, I love this for childhood reasons. And your childhood reasons aren't, what a powerful story. I loved it so much. It touched me deeply in my heart. Yeah. There isn't that story there.
No.
All the demons or whatever. But it is like a cartoon nostalgic love. It's like, I just love what this is. It's who I was then that I connect to. And I wanted to capture that and put that into something where people go, oh, it's all the stuff I either remember and love, or kind of the stuff you expect and the things that you were like, oh, I wanted it to be this and it never really was, but the idea still lives in me. I wanted to put that into something. But then the other thing I wanted to do was when you're trying to make something like this, it's really easy for people to be like, Ghoulies? You mean the little green guy in the toilet? What the fuck are you going to do with that? That's not like it. I made a story that I believe is a really good character piece story. Like I made something that actually is a movie and isn't just goofy toilet demon stuff. Like you could almost take away the Ghoulies part of it and go, there's a really interesting story about these characters here and what they're going through and what they're doing. It's a growth and development and moving forward. And there's a lot of, I put way more effort. When I wrote my Demon Fetus story years ago, the Sasha Maslansky, the son of the creator of Police Academy, he said, this is the Citizen Kane of shitty horror movies. He was like, nobody would ever put this much good work into a bad movie or stuff. He was like, it's so much like of a story, and it was poorly written, but it was just that the story itself was really a big fun story. And he was just like, I can't believe you put that much work in. And it wasn't good. But I feel like I took that mindset and really tried to go now to go, how am I going to write this? And I'm like, make the Citizen Kane a fucking shitty horror movie. It's like, make something that's so good that you could almost show it to a real film, cinema type of guy and have them go like, yeah, the character development in that one, dude, is I wanted it to be legit. So I tried to make the most legitimate Ghoulies thing I could write while also making it what it was supposed to be, because you can't take away that or you screw it all up. And I found a healthy balance. And I tried to also follow the beats of the originals, where the first one's more serious. The second one's got a bit more lightheartedness to it. Yeah. And by the time you get to the third one, you're getting wacky and a little goofy, but not in the way of Ghoulies 3. I want to be clear, we will never have the speaking, laughing, Three Stooges-y type of Ghoulies that would be in Ghoulies.
That may upset some people, because some people do like Ghoulies, but I'm glad.
For the movies, there's the direction we're going, but funny enough, and I can't say anything really about it because I literally just got the email tonight from Jeffrey Levy, one of the creators.
Yes.
And he wrote me and said he spoke with somebody about a thing, and it would be its own standalone over there thing. It would have nothing to do with what we're doing, and I can't really talk about what it is because I don't know what's gonna happen. It might never be a thing, or it might totally be a thing because things happen that way. But if it happened, it would be something where it would only work, or it would work best with the Ghoulies 3 versions, and it would not screw up anything I'm doing with AMI stuff. It would be its own weird little bubble of a thing. But if it happens, I would be so stupid happy with how that, and I'm not a fan of Ghoulies 3. I don't enjoy it. But to take the Ghoulies from Ghoulies 3 and use them in this manner is something I never considered. And the opportunity, if it works out, would be so much fun. But that's all I can say about Ghoulies 3.
Okay.
There was also an opportunity to do something else that's not film or anything. And I don't know if I'll go into that yet either. But if we did that, it would be with the Ghoulies 3 version. It would just be a little tiny small thing. But if we did it, it would be silly and fun and a little surprising if it actually worked out. I think it's going to happen, but it requires somebody else saying yes. So until they say yes, it's out of my hands. But we're trying to get them to say yes, and it's not unlikely that they would say yes. They just haven't received the message yet to get back to us or whatever. So it's in a limbo state of probably going to happen. Don't know if it's going to happen. It would be fun if it happened, though. So.
It's interesting because it's like the Ghoulies are coming back. We just don't know when. It's
right.
You got it all in your you got all these processes going, all these balls up in the air, figuring it all out.
It's so much juggling. It is so much juggling because it's literally like I forgot to get back to the one guy. He wants to do the thing. The so and like. Then you're also talking sometimes to people who go, I can talk to you in a month, but I'm busy. And then there's some people that don't respond for a month from the first time you reach out, and they hit you up a month later and go, hey, thanks for reaching out. And it's like, oh, I forgot you existed. I've moved on. Like, so there's a lot of like moving back and forth and trying to figure it out. And like, I guess that's what producers do. It's a lot of phone calls and emailing and nonsense. And, we've got, like I said, I've got a few people who really want to do it, and I think they can pull it off, and they seem to think they can pull it off. But the business part of what goes into pulling, a couple $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever it ends up being, I don't even. I'm also bad with money and numbers, so I don't know. Like, I'm not a banker, I'm not a finance guy.
Would these movies be coming theatrically or?
It's. Okay, so that's basically.
If you have any of that, if you can tell.
We would love to make it happen, but it really comes down to, does somebody want to do that and then throw the money at it? If we could pull off 800,000 to say 1.2 million, the movie can get made. In that range, it's possible. Now that's nobody in the cast you've ever heard of. And that's, working cheese sandwiches and Troma style, but it could get made. And it would be a good movie, a reputable movie and a solid movie, and it would exist. And then we'd have to go figure out how to hustle it into the world and make it happen and whatever aspects of distribution. And that's possible. That's we've got a few distribution people who are cool with certain things. So that's the thing with the business stuff. I hate the business stuff. It gets so stupid and legal and complicated and how they all do their everything. And there's a reason I didn't go to business school. I don't have time for it. It's so much like technical everything, but it's getting figured out. And there's other people beyond me, even though I'm the president of Ghoulies. There's other people who have a much better comprehension of how to handle these things, and they know I'm creative side thinking and not at all the guy who's going to be able to tell you, tax in different states for making. I don't know anything about this stuff. So it's figuring itself out. And then there was a couple of people have talked about theatrical. I think that for that to happen, if I remember right, it would be like $4 million or $5 million because of how much more has to go into putting names in it or marketing and what. It's a bigger machine. I've never in all of my years of messing with things, all I ever did was hand a script to a producer and go, I hope you sell it, dude. That's awesome. Like, I don't know. I don't do a lot of that, you know, producery stuff. And then, yeah, that's it. That's
well,
so it's kind of like the balls are in the air. People are doing things. They're supposed to get back to me. I'm supposed to get back to them. People are doing other things. We'll see what happens. And
well,
fingers are crossed.
well, I'm hoping the movies gets made. I'm interested. Like I said, I've been a big fan of Ghoulies as well. I mean, if nothing else, we got the novels coming out, and you got the comics coming out. As soon as you sign the paper,
Yeah, I think if I'm right, they would be coming out in somewhere in like the Halloween end of the year type of
sounds
stuff.
about right.
So somewhere in that ballpark would be the goal if I
Yeah.
got it right. But yeah. We got and then hopefully action figures at some point. Trying to make that just all the Ghoulies fun we can make.
Yes.
And hopefully flip some of that into. I have a mountain of scripts. I have so many other things that I'm like, oh, I want to make all these things too. I wonder if I can take Ghoulies and show that I can do this, and then if I can do that, I can flip it into this. And
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, I really, really hope they get made because I'm interested to see your take. It's been a while since the Ghoulies. I know I spoke to Jim Wynorski, who did Ghoulies 4.
Sure.
He didn't want to use the puppets. He told me he didn't like the puppets. That's why there's no puppets in part 4.
I always wondered exactly what happened there. I never even looked it up, but that's funny.
Yeah. He told me, he's like, I didn't like them. I didn't use them. So that's Jim Wynorski for you, because
awesome.
He's just like, that's how he talks. He's hilarious. I love him. But yeah, but I'm excited. I mean, I'm sure you put the toilet scene in the script and everything, because we all know how that happened in the first movie.
Ghoulies need to eat an ass, or it's not a Ghoulies movie.
It's gotta be. That's something we have not honestly seen in a Ghoulies movie.
That's true.
We've never seen the ass be ate. Yeah. So we heard the scream at the end of part 2. But
it was not visualized, was it?
No, not visualized.
I will correct that. But I assure you, it shall be corrected. If the money comes through, your dream will become a reality.
I mean, it sounds exciting. I like the idea of actual character development. I like the idea of the actual puppets. I'm sure you kept the campiness of it in there. You just seem like a guy that would campiness.
I swear to God, I am so look to anybody that's seeing this. Just I'm
gonna tag everybody. Bloody, disgusting, Fangoria, all the big horror stuff.
I wrote these books, and there's so many things where, like, I wrote a novelization. Let's take away the new stuff. Just the novelization of the original, I'm creating aspects of backstory to characters and creating connections to who they all are and how they exist in their bubble. And like, I try to solidify perhaps aspects that weren't solidified in the original. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, I'm, funny and stupid, and I made a bunch of really funny, stupid things that I thought were great. I'm like, what if he did this because this happened? And I just started making up little backstory things as to why the people in the movies did things that you see them do, and you would think like, oh, they did that because of this, but I've added a whole thing as to why that little tiny thing happened. And it's one of those things where, like, at the time I was having the best time ever, because I'm literally just watching. I'm going through the script. I took everything in the script, wrote it all out, took everything from the movie and made notes where it was different from the script, so I could know what was what and what not to use and what to use and like stuff. And I put it all together, and then I just went through and made all sorts of little notes about why that, what's the backstory on that, what's this thing. And I just made little things just to make myself laugh, just stupid things that I'm like, that's so funny if he did that. And then I wrote it all. And then after I wrote it, I'm like, there are other fans out there, and I don't know if they're going to find this funny at all. And I hope to God they think this is hilarious. And I thought it was hilarious, but I was really just entertaining the shit out of myself writing the thing in the middle of the night. And there's an element of fear in me. I'm like, I hope somebody doesn't read it and go, who the fuck is this guy writing this news shit about my beloved Ghoulies? So I hope it's fun. I hope it's well received, but I apologize in advance if anybody reads anything and goes, "Yeah, that wasn't what I was picturing."
I'll tell you I'll tell you one way or another, because my friend Tom is a huge Ghoulies fan.
Yeah,
major fan. He's got the puppets, everything.
Wow.
You know, so
he'll
once he reads it,
feedback, right?
he'll give you. He's a straight shooter. He's honest. So he'll give you his straight feedback. If I could have got him on here tonight, he probably would have been joining us tonight.
Well, I might see if he wants to give an early review and read.
Well, I still have it, and you know,
cool. Yeah, awesome. I love it.
I appreciate you, Theo, for joining me and discussing about the return of Ghoulies.
Thank you for having me on, my friend. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and I'm glad it finally got to happen. This is awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good conversation. It's interesting to hear everything that's in phase, even though it's not.
The shirt.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, go get it.
I will put a link in the description so people can go buy the Ghoulies shirt.
Go. It's on TeePublic. I think I get $1 if they sell one or something.
Yeah, me too. I get about $1.
TeePublic and fun. Follow on Twitter and
Instagram. I have all your links. I'll have all your links in the description. Follow Ghoulies Inc. Theo. Make sure you get you a Ghoulie shirt. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview as much as I enjoyed having it. As always, please like, share, subscribe, and leave some comments in the comment section down below. And we will see you guys in the next one. And remember, physical media is the superior format. Godspeed.